The Miami midnight disaster. It was the 4th of July. Fireworks exploding across the Miami skyline, music booming from the decks, and 32 friends celebrating life, freedom, and the summer night. The yacht was packed. Laughter, champagne, and flashing lights everywhere. But in all that chaos, no one noticed how fast they were moving, or how close another vessel was, cutting across the dark water. At exactly 11:47 p.m., a flash of light illuminated the waves, and then impact. A massive collision threw people overboard instantly. The music stopped. Screams filled the air. Some tried to grab anything floating, cushions, coolers, life rings, but the waves were unforgiving. The captain, who'd been drinking too, lost all sense of direction. The yacht began sinking fast. The Coast Guard's distress call went unanswered for over 20 minutes. By the time rescuers reached the scene, the once bright party had become a graveyard of floating debris. 4 people were confirmed dead that night, and one woman, a 25-year-old named Carla, was never found. Her last post on social media said, "Best night ever with my favorite people." In the following days, investigators revealed that not a single life jacket had been worn, and the radar warning system had been turned off to keep the mood chill. What was supposed to be a night of freedom turned into a haunting reminder that the ocean never forgives carelessness. And every year since, locals say, they still see flashes of light off the Miami coast, long after the fireworks end. The Ibiza Inferno. It was the kind of night Ibiza is famous for. The sky glowing pink from sunset, the air heavy with music, and a luxury yacht drifting just offshore. On board were 20 guests, influencers, DJs, and wealthy tourists who wanted to celebrate another endless summer. The drinks were flowing, the deck lights shimmered across the water, and someone shouted, "Let's keep this party burning all night." Nobody knew how literal that would become. Below deck, a small generator had been humming for hours. It powered the lights, the speakers, the ice machine, everything that made this floating club come alive. But somewhere in the dark, a loose fuel line had started to leak, filling the air with invisible fumes. At 2:13 a.m., someone flicked a lighter to start a sparkler for a photo. The explosion was instant. Fire tore through the deck, turning laughter into screams. People dove into the black water, blinded by smoke and chaos. The yacht's fiberglass shell burned like paper. Rescue boats didn't reach the scene for nearly 30 minutes. By then, the ocean was covered in ash and debris, and 6 people were missing. Witnesses on nearby vessels said they heard screams echoing across the waves, long after the flames had vanished. When divers finally found the wreckage, the hull was almost completely melted. The cause was ruled accidental ignition due to vapor buildup, but survivors swear they smelled fuel hours before the blast, and no one listened. What started? The Sydney Harbor mystery. It was supposed to be a simple birthday cruise, a private charter around Sydney Harbor, 21 guests, a few drinks, and music under the city lights. The boat left the dock at 8 p.m. sharp, full of laughter and flashing phones. The night was calm, the sea quiet. Nothing seemed out of place. Around midnight, nearby vessels saw the yacht drifting farther out than usual. The music was still playing and colorful lights flashed from the deck. But when the harbor patrol tried to radio the captain, there was no response. They assumed it was just another drunk party. By sunrise, the yacht was found floating silently near the edge of the bay. The engines were off. The music was still looping through the speakers. Empty glasses stood on the bar. Plates of half-eaten food sat on the table. But there wasn't a single person on board. No signs of a struggle. No damage. No distress call. Life jackets were untouched. Phones and wallets were still inside. It was as if every passenger had simply vanished into the night. Search teams scoured the surrounding water for days. Divers, helicopters, sonar, nothing. Not one body. Not one clue. The last photo posted on social media showed everyone smiling, holding drinks. Captioned, "Best night ever." It was uploaded at 11:42 p.m., just 15 minutes before radio contact was lost. The official report lists the incident as unexplained disappearance. Unofficially, the locals call it the harbor haunting. Some say on quiet nights you can still hear the faint sound of music drifting across the water, from a party that never really ended. The Bangkok River disaster. It was a humid Saturday night along the Chao Phraya River, the heart of Bangkok's nightlife. The neon lights reflected off the water, and the sound of music and laughter echoed between skyscrapers. On one of the many party boats cruising that night was a group of young office co-workers celebrating a promotion. Cheap drinks, karaoke, and flashing lights. Nothing unusual for the river that never sleeps. But underneath the deck, something was very wrong. The boat was old, poorly maintained, patched together with cheap repairs. The safety inspections had been delayed for months, and the captain had been drinking with the guests since takeoff. Around 10:37 p.m., the boat hit the wake of a passing cargo vessel. The sudden jolt caused everyone to stumble and scream. But that wasn't the real problem. The impact cracked one of the lower hull seams, allowing water to flood in fast. Within minutes, the deck tilted sharply. Panic erupted. People rushed toward the exits, but the doors were jammed. Someone shouted to grab life vests. But the storage compartment was locked. Videos later recovered from a guest's phone showed chaos. Water pouring across the floor, people clinging to railings, and someone praying in the background. Then the camera cut out. By the time emergency services arrived, the boat had completely capsized. Of the 46 people on board, only 29 were rescued. 17 died, most trapped below deck. The official investigation found that the captain's blood alcohol level was nearly triple the legal limit, and the ship's owner had faked inspection certificates for years. The boat's name? The Lucky Star. Now, when it rains in Bangkok, locals say you can sometimes hear music coming from the river, a haunting echo of the night. The Lucky Star sank forever. The Lake Tahoe tragedy. It was one of those perfect California summer afternoons. Clear skies, calm waters, and a private boat party on Lake Tahoe. A group of college friends had rented a sleek white speedboat to celebrate their reunion. Drinks, laughter, music. It was everything they'd dreamed of after years apart. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, the group decided to take the party out farther, toward the quieter, darker side of the lake. The air turned cold, the water still as glass. Someone joked that it felt too peaceful, like the calm before a storm. And then the storm came. Around 9:45 p.m., strong winds swept across the lake. Waves began to rise, slamming against the small boat. The captain, one of the friends, barely experienced, tried to steer back, but the controls jammed. Water began pouring in over the bow. People screamed, clutching at each other as the boat rocked violently. In the panic, someone jumped overboard, hoping to swim to shore. Others followed. But Lake Tahoe is colder than it looks, even in summer. Within minutes, the icy water started shutting down their muscles. By the time rescuers arrived, the boat had capsized completely. 3 were dead, 2 missing, and the rest barely clinging to floating debris. The most chilling detail? One of the survivors later revealed that before they left the dock, a marina worker had warned them not to go too far that night. "Weather's turning," he'd said. They laughed it off. Now locals say that when fog rolls over Tahoe's surface at night, you can still see the faint outline of a boat drifting silently across the water, with the echo of music that no one's playing anymore. The Greek island wedding disaster was supposed to be the happiest night of their lives. A sunset wedding off the coast of Santorini. White cliffs, golden skies, and a rented luxury yacht filled with 50 guests from all around the world. Champagne flowed, music played, and everyone danced under the stars. The bride and groom even joked that they didn't need a honeymoon. This is paradise already, but paradise has a dark side. As the boat sailed farther from shore, the captain, hired last minute, steered toward a cove known for its perfect photo views. What no one mentioned was that the cove was surrounded by hidden volcanic rock formations just below the surface. At around 10:20 p.m., as the newlyweds posed for a group photo, The yacht jolted violently. Glasses shattered, people screamed. The hull had struck a rock. Within seconds, water began gushing in. The lights flickered out and chaos erupted. Guests rushed for life jackets, but there weren't enough. In the panic, people slipped on the soaked deck, tumbling into the black water below. The bride's wedding dress, soaked and heavy, pulled her under before anyone could reach her. Her husband dove in after her. Neither resurfaced. By the time the Coast Guard arrived, the boat had nearly vanished beneath the waves. 27 people were rescued, but 6 were dead, including the newlyweds. Investigators later revealed that the captain had no proper navigation license and that the yacht's radar system had been temporarily offline to save fuel. Locals now whisper that on quiet nights near the same cove, you can sometimes hear wedding music drifting across the water, followed by a woman's laughter fading into the sea. The ocean doesn't care how rich you are, how beautiful the night is, or how loud the music plays. Every one of these stories started the same: laughter, lights, and the promise of a good time. But on the water, one mistake can turn celebration into tragedy in seconds. So next time you see a party boat drifting across the waves, remember, some parties never end. They just sink into silence. This is the dark side of paradise. If you want more stories like this, hit subscribe. And don't forget to stay safe out there. The ocean never forgets.